What's up, all my beings of light, art, culture, and knowledge out there? Welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. It's the one and only governor of me, myself, and I, Governor Wildstar, here with you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in because I have a very special guest who I'm going to be introducing to you now. His name is Mr. Shane Hazel, and he is running for governor of Georgia. What's up, Shane? Welcome to the Black Side of Liberty, my man.
Nick, good to be with you, man. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you here, man. So you're running for governor of Georgia. I mean, that must be quite the feat because Georgia is one of those states that we hear a lot about in the news, you know, for many different reasons, which we'll talk about during the show. But if you could just tell the people out there, who is Shane Hazel? Because you also run a radical podcast, right?
Yeah. That's really my main passion is running a podcast. It's called Radical. It's radicalpod.com or shanehazel.com. You can find them both at the same place. But it focuses a lot lately on Bitcoin. We talk about everything under the sun from libertarian politics to, you know, what's going on foreign policy. In my past, you know, I've run for U.S. Senate, I've run for U.S. House, I've run now running for governor now. And, you know, past, I guess, before that is, you know, I was a Marine right after the 9/11, you know, hijackings and all that awful stuff. And was really only in the Marine Corps for one enlistment period, which was about, you know, a little over about 4 years. So outside of that, man, I've really just been pouring myself into, you know, studying, figuring out, you know, a better way to do, you know, this whole thing they call society, man, because we've kind of, I don't know, we've inherited so much, but we are trying to find our way as I think a new paradigm is shifting.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Especially right now with the people being so discontent with the two-party system.
Yeah.
I mean, we say it time and time again that people are fed up now more than ever before with Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
And then they fail us by, you know, repeating the same damn mistake over and over again, you know, and making an insane decision to support either or during an election. So you mentioned that you ran before for Senate as well as what again?
U.S. House. Yeah, I ran for the Georgia 7th District U.S. House. Actually, that was a run as a Republican because you know, first time in politics, I thought I was going to change the world, and yeah, I thought I could bring the Republican Party around. So I primaried a guy down here who was a complete rhino. You know, was terrible. I mean, just a 50% constitutional voter. And, you know, obviously at the time it was just like, man, I could blow this guy out of the water being a hometown boy and, you know, knowing the Constitution forward and backward, like an, you know, autistic 7th grader. And, you know, like, I don't know, went in there and war hero, everything else. And it was just like, nah, man, this is a club, and the stuff you're talking about in terms of liberty, we're not down with that. Plus, I don't know if you didn't notice, but we already got ourselves a bought and paid for congressman over there. You know, those don't come cheap, right? So,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's been a trip. I mean, 2018, I think, you know, 2022 here is going to be the last year, right? And so, I'm gonna focus a lot more on homesteading and family and local politics after this.
That's cool. All right. Well, yeah. So this is, I guess, another run for you. And how many years has it been?
Yeah, it's my third run in less than 6 years.
Wow. And people don't realize the amount of sacrifice and dedication it takes to just campaign for office, you know?
Yeah.
So I salute you definitely there for that, as well as your service. You know, a lot of military veterans right now are, I guess, finding themselves in a place where they're either being supportive or outspoken against, the war machine that has kept our country forever in, perpetual war.
Yeah.
So with you being a military vet yourself, I want to ask you, what is your position currently, or I guess, how do you feel about our country, this whole war machine and the military industrial complex, the Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So hearing from a military veteran, such as yourself, the public would definitely like to know.
Yeah. I mean, pretty simple. Most of what we do overseas is interventionism. I mean, damn near 100%. One way or another, if we're slipping in through the cracks for even humanitarian things, like there's other things going on in that theater, with clandestine type resources, CIA, State Department, all that crap. It's gotten obviously out of hand. I mean, we're to the point, where we've got a president with nuclear weapons talking fast and loose about, nuclear war, possibly biological, chemical warfare with Russia. They're very quick to throw a lot of money in terms of billions of dollars at Ukraine, who, Ukraine's Ukraine. They're not part of NATO. And here's the thing is like Europe, man, they're at least I think twice the size in terms of GDP and people as Russia to begin with. And really, if you're looking at it offensively, I mean, I don't know. It's just gotten to the point where, I mean, we talk about Ukraine. Nobody's talking about Yemen out there, or at least very few people. Most of them are libertarians. The blockade, the Saudi and the UAE war over there, that's absolutely decimated that country. It's killing kids. I mean, they're starving of malnutrition, and all we have to do is not blockade their ports and maybe have a word with the prince of Saudi Arabia to say enough's enough, man. Like, this is an impoverished nation, and you're just slaughtering them. So yeah, there's a lot to be desired, mostly disbanded, I guess, in terms of taking down this, I don't know, what do they ask for, $800 billion budget the other day? And then
unbelievable. Just more of our tax dollars down the drain, to terrorize people in other countries. I mean, let's just be honest about it. At this point, we shouldn't be, pussyfooting and dancing around the subject. We got to be honest and say our tax dollars are going towards killing people.
Peaceful people, kids, women, men, and in
other countries.
Around the world.
It's sad because you brought up a good point. You brought up about how we currently have a president who is basically using his position as a soapbox, a talking head, to beat on the drums of war, and do more warmongering. And he's calling out Putin, saying he needs to be removed from power.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous thing to say. I mean, what if a foreign, leader of a country, or, foreign country leader was saying that about an American president?
Well, I actually asked that question the other night, is like, when Putin was calling for the head of basically George Soros, dead or alive. I was like, hey man, you guys want to sweeten the pot here in America? Let's give the rest of these bastards
get a twofer,
right? Like, hey man, like, if we don't need to send our young men and women off to die overseas, we don't need to send billions of dollars worth of funding. We don't need to send any of that kind of stuff. The best thing I think we could probably do is open up trade. But besides the point, if they ask for, if they said, hey, we want Biden, we want Bush, we want Obama, we want Trump, we want, like, I'd be like, cool, man. Like, what port are you guys coming in? And maybe we'll
do you write the check directly to me, or
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe we just won't go defend Washington D.C. That's the thing, is like, I don't know, man. I don't care about these people probably as much as they don't care about us. And that's the thing, is like, I mean, this goes way back in history. The anti-federalists warned the federalists about this, and they said, listen, this is a coup d'etat, right? In the anti-federalist papers and in the writings and briefings and notes that you see from the Constitutional Convention from the other side, that nobody's taught about. Like they call these guys the aristocratic combination, right? It's the banks, it's the bureaucrats, and it's the tycoons in business. It's this upper elite doing whatever the hell they want to enrich themselves, enrich their buddies, and play this, really ridiculous game of, democratic quote unquote republic, which was a centralization coup, right? They just wanted to centralize power
right
for themselves. So, to see it all unfold is just, I mean, these guys are a bunch of murdering thieves and everybody knows it. I mean, what they're getting away with, I think, hopefully these are the last days of quote unquote, the national DC type of government. I think it's inevitable at this point, just a falling empire.
Oh, the same new world order that Joe Biden was talking about, if that we must grasp and take control of.
Yeah.
I mean, they're blatantly saying this openly, to the public, Shane. I mean, okay, so since you're running for governor, a lot of people don't realize, how things work as far as the hierarchy of government. And a governor is essentially like the president of the state.
Executive.
So, being the executive officer of the state, commander in chief of the governor, of the military, National Guard there in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do in making sure that the people of Georgia, I don't know why I keep switching those two, people of Georgia are actually protected by you, but then not also threatened by the military and the police state that exists today? Because you'd be taking that over to some degree.
Yep.
How would you reform it to look more so like a liberty protecting, government agency?
Yeah, well, secession is on the table, and we actually voted that, a couple of years ago. We adopted it as a platform of the Libertarian Party. It's coming anyway, one way or another. It's like, hey, let's get ahead of this. We don't want a war with you, DC. We don't want to make enemies out of the rest of the states. We want to trade and be friends in peace. And so when you look at, the way this is going to be done, it's going to be done financially. What we're talking about is the adoption of Bitcoin in this campaign. And this probably, I've got it under freedom, jobs, and energy, but the Bitcoin is what makes this possible. When we talk about the government owning basically the means of printing, infinite dollars ad nauseum, right? What we're talking about, centralized control of money. This always fails, always, always, always. And throughout history, if you look at the UK, you look at the Ottoman Empire, you look at the Roman Empire, all of these countries centralize, and they eventually make fiat over time their money. And so when this is all controlled in a central location, corruption is blown obviously out of proportion, like we see. So if we can help people understand why Bitcoin is so important, that it's a decentralized currency, that it is a medium of exchange peer-to-peer that takes the middleman out of it, we are going to have such a different relationship with each other, because we're not going to be looking at each other like, hey, man, we can take that guy's stuff. What we're going to be doing is coming to each other through consent. We're going to be, dealing with each other ideologically, and Bitcoin takes the incentive for force away from the state, obviously crippling state powers and empowering sovereign people. And so when we understand also, I guess is very important, because a lot of people don't understand, like, Bitcoin is the hardest money that's ever been created by man. And when I mean hard, it means it meets three criteria. It's saleable, liquid over time and space and scales. Time being, is there ever going to be any more inflation in Bitcoin? It can't be. 21 million is the cap. There will never be more. So it actually, over time, as people maybe lose their wallets or have them, I don't know, just stolen by whatever type of, attack vector there's out there, you'll have less Bitcoins, which means deflationary currency, which is an amazing thing to have. It's never been deflationary in the past. Even gold is inflationary. Then you have saleable over space. Is it easy to transfer? Gold isn't easy to transfer between nations. It's extremely hard to store. There's just a million things that could go wrong with moving gold, the next hardest money around the world. And then lastly, scalable. There's 100 million Satoshis for every Bitcoin out there. So we can scale this over the entire world's population. And when you meet those three criteria for money, what you end up with is a damn near perfect money that's decentralized. There is no human counterpart. It's a code, and it doesn't care who you are or what you are or who your brothers and sisters in power are, right? Like, it doesn't care about those things. So it brings everybody to the table equally. And I think I could talk about this, the idea for Bitcoin all day.
Same here, man. I'm a Bitcoin enthusiast, cryptocurrency in general. I think it's the future. And
yeah,
as far as us moving away from fiat currency and increasing our buying power, which right now we need more than ever before with the inflation. And, now they want to give out gas cards to everybody and more stimulus checks. And people don't understand how money works. So you kind of have to explain to them just the basics about how money works to even, get to the point to where you can explain Bitcoin and the benefit of it. But I completely agree with you as far as moving to decentralized, a decentralized monetary system. And hopefully more people will be embracing of crypto in the future. I see it happening quickly thanks to the metaverse and NFTs and all of that whole deal. So it's definitely picking up as far as popularity. So with you introducing this as part of your campaign platform, are you seeing, I guess, the media pay more attention to your campaign and what you're offering as a gubernatorial candidate?
I think, we actually did one of our first big radio spots the other day. And I don't know if it's the fact that it's Bitcoin. I don't know if it's people are sick of Democrats and Republicans to the point where they're like, screw it, man. What do we got to lose? Just more freedom. I mean, that sounds all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the fact that, this is, when I ran for U.S. Senate, kind of made some international headlines and, causing a runoff down here where I wouldn't support either one of them. And so I don't know. I think there's maybe a whole bunch working, right now in terms of helping us out. But I think people are just super excited for a very different type of person who, isn't those guys, right? Who speaks a completely different language of liberty, that calls out, all of the industrial complexes, the bureaucrats, left, right, center, whatever, calls out the banks, calls out the media for everything that it is and how it's been the enemy of the people. And it's really complicit in the genocide, I think, of a lot of people. And, we won't go into specifics, right? But we know what we're talking about. This is it's definitely got a new vibe. And the thing is I really haven't even started yet. It's like I've been, figuring out message. I've been figuring out exactly, how to, brand this thing. And that's the thing is, man, like I do all this myself so that, there's one person to point the finger at the end of the day, when things come home, it's my responsibility. So, I think, being just a dude that gets up and, busts his ass 24/7, that's into, helping other people financially, that's helping, his own family, his own community, in terms of decentralization, and nullification at the local level through this thing I created last year called the Helios Initiative. I mean, to see that, and then on top of it, homesteading with 3 kids, to try to show people that independence is kind of a verb. You got to do it. You got to be that person that doesn't need the state for anything. I think people are really looking at it, go, all right, man, like, how does he do all this stuff, right? Like,
what show them step by step, man.
Somebody's going, he does cocaine. No, and it's that's the thing is, like, it's just, you see something, you got a passion for it, and once you have the knowledge and passion, there's a responsibility to start giving back. Been very fortunate, and so to be able to give back ideas and give back the ability to teach other people, it's just been something I think has been very well received.
That's good to know. Hopefully, more people in Georgia will be embracing of that message. I mean, because it is a genuine one. It's unfortunate that in the atmosphere and that political climate, a lot of people take what you say as with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? And it's kind of hard to sell people on authenticity when they're used to seeing so many fake ass people.
Oh
You know
man,
what I
yeah,
mean? It's
I get it. Trust
like,
me, it's an
and
uphill battle.
yeah, and they're frauds, to get elected, and then they stab us in the back, say one thing, do another, but you're out there showing them by way of your campaign, hey, I'm this guy, through and through, and this is what you're going to get when you're elected. So more people hopefully will gravitate towards that. One thing that you talked about as far as Bitcoin is concerned, you mentioned equality. And that seems to be like one of those hot button words nowadays. Unfortunately, when you talk about equality, you're segregating one group and discriminating against them in, hopes to help another. So, as a libertarian, how do you approach, I guess, dealing with some of the societal issues where people feel like more equality is needed, whether it be racial equality or sexual equality or whatever the case may be, or school choice. It's so many things out there. So how do you kind of manage it and balance it to where you can do your best as governor to make everybody happy?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, as a Marine that absolutely didn't give two flying fucks about anybody's excuses, right? Like suck it up and do better. That doesn't really jive well as a politician when you're going out and addressing a voter
Right.
base. That's one of those hard lessons, right? Because when you know the material cold and you can teach it and all that kind of stuff, and you're very intense to begin with. One of the best pieces of information or best feedback I ever got from a campaign was after my first campaign. Somebody said, "Man, you know this stuff. What you need to do is smile. You need to have fun." And it's a lot like Ron Paul, right? He said, if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. When you go out and have these conversations with people, if it's demographically related, which I don't pay a lot of attention to because I don't think for me it does anything in terms of I don't know, making me more valuable to the voter base at the end of the day. What I try to do is go out there and have, conversations like, this is where I've screwed up in life, man. Oh, let me open myself up to you and show you kind of like what my past was, what I have done, and then kind of guide them into, the story of how had it been a free market, I would have been better off. Had we been using, a uncensorable type of cash, Bitcoin, where I would have had, more opportunity over, the course of my working career to do other things, or because other people in other organizations were able to keep theirs, where maybe you get a scholarship for something you're actually really interested in, or you get, your some type of, work relationship where you're learning a trade or a skill for the first year and getting paid because those people aren't paying taxes. I mean, to be able to open yourself up, to validate other people, to understand, that what they're going through, the struggle and everything else, and then, move them, whether, it's black or brown or gay or straight or whatever it is in terms of the social group that everybody else has put you in, to guide them into a individual type of understanding where they really get to that point where they start to see that, yeah, man, this would not only be better for me, but I'm an actual individual. I don't have to be part of this group because the popular kids over here say I have to be part of this group. I don't have to act a certain way because these people over here tell me I have to act this way. And that's the thing is, like for me, I see this all the time, especially out of the Hollywood elites. And I mean, I'm gonna white upper class women. Like I can't I don't know what the fuck is wrong with people that have had maybe some of the cushiest, softest fucking lives. Like you guys telling other people how they can and cannot act, and who they shouldn't be, and what groups they should and should not support, like, gotta be the most tone deaf in terms of the acceptance of other human beings. It's like, we want to fight racism, but you guys got to act like this. We want to fight, gender, norms, but you got to act like this. Like, what? You're telling people how to act. You're a little tiny little tyrant. You're a dictator. So, and it's not all of them, don't get me wrong, but this woke ass crowd of fucking white women, Jesus Christ. I mean, it is.
You said it, I didn't.
I'll say it all day, and that's it. Like, it's a real problem. Like, we've got a real problem. All these entitled idiots out there that have more people in university and more people taking, women's studies and everything. Like, it's an issue. And then at the end of the day, they want us to pay, like, I think it was damn Joe Biden just maybe yesterday or today that launched a tweet about talking about, or maybe it was Chuck Schumer. Anyway, one of these idiots talking about forgiving, college debt of the people that went and studied women's studies. And you're just like, man, those are the most privileged people in the damn world, because a lot of us couldn't afford to take on college debt. We made the fiscally responsible decision, and we said, nah, I don't think I'm going to take on $50, $60, $150,000 worth of debt, right?
I got that bullet for sure,
dude. Those guys, man, they want us to pay for all these this college.
You can learn on YouTube. That's basically what we're paying for. Or now, since most of the colleges are online, they're attending classes online. So you're paying for schooling, an educational system through a computer system, not in the classroom. And it's taken away that environment that people enjoy so much about higher learning.
Party down.
Right. Yeah, that too. Damn it. But I want to talk about the whole, I guess, the white women that you described, because these personalities, I would say, exist on the far right and the far left. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't realize that, but statism works both ways, where you got people that are thinking that the state, the government, the authority is supposed to use force to make you think a certain way, make you behave a certain way. And if you're not, you should be punished for it. So it's sad that, again, both of these personality types exist on both sides of the political aisle. So as a libertarian, where you're coming in, promoting independence and, autonomy and, being a self-thinker, how do you conquer, I guess, that type of mentality? Because they are existent, and I hate to say it, but they're the majority. That are voting. They're the majority that are voting.
It is a uphill battle. And I think you got to think back to when you were becoming a libertarian. Most people don't start out as libertarians. Kids do. And then they're corrupted by the state and some great reading. John Taylor Gatto, anything John Taylor Gatto, read all of his stuff. It gives everybody an out. One of the things that I always push is because people are always easy, like, people don't want to, as adults, tell anybody else that they were duped, right? Like, you don't want to be anybody's fool. However, as a kid, you were duped, right? Like, a lot of times, Santa Claus got you, the Tooth Fairy got you, the goddamn Easter Bunny got you, like, all of these things got you. You got duped as a kid. So it's very easy for somebody to read John Taylor Gatto, first of all, and see that they got duped by the government youth indoctrination camps, right? Like, it's a real thing. So yes, they want to start you at 5 and push you in through, higher education, so that they have as many years of indoctrination as possible into you. So the way that I start conversations with people who are the Republicans and Democrats, both obviously, pushing towards things like fascism and, communism, socialism, whatever statism it is, where it's, control. I have conversations with them where I ask them questions, and, obviously know the answer to all the ends of your questions, but it really depends on what they want to talk about. Do they want to talk about charity? Do they want to talk about human rights? Do they want to talk about, anything, economic related? Find something that you have some common ground and that they actually care about, and then start questioning. Hey man, teach me. And then what that does is it opens them, it validates them as a person, because you're intrigued as to what they think. And when you can have somebody, kind of step back and say, oh, hey, you know what? This guy actually cares what I think. He wants to hear me. He wants to have a conversation, a dialogue. Something naturally happens in your subconscious where you want to have an exchange, right? And when they get to the point where they don't have the answers, or now if you switch subjects just a little bit, just the next question takes them from being consistent to inconsistent, you can start to work with that a little bit, and you can weave in a personal story about maybe what you thought. Like as a Marine combat vet, man, I was a war hawk. I wanted to go overseas and do real damage and death to the people that attacked us, quote unquote, right? And I had my revelation. I tell that story. How did I see war differently after experiencing it firsthand? How did it change me internally? What happened when I got back? What happened to my buddies? All these things that maybe help steer people away from being hawks. Or on the other side, cannabis, for God's sakes. Like, cannabis is one of those things that, for the life of me, when I was a kid, I thought, man, that stuff will kill you, right? Like, that's what they taught. They taught stuff will kill you. And then you can tell a story about having post-traumatic stress and firing up a J with a good friend who would listen to you, or your wife, or anybody else, and having a really almost spiritual type of moment with other people where they see you, your evolution. They see that you were mistaken, and now they're going to open up and say, yeah, you know what, man, like, me too. Like, I had this instance in my life. Now you're telling stories. Now you've got a rapport. Now you've let them in to that circle just a little bit. And people who can just make it into that circle right there, they are bound to trust you over people that they don't know 100% more, right? Just make contact with them. Have a moment with them. And that moment, it's like, that guy doesn't want to kill me. That guy doesn't want to take my stuff. That guy will leave me alone. He doesn't care what I grow in my garden, for God's sakes. He doesn't care what I put in my body. He just cares that if I don't hurt people and I don't take their stuff, then he's going to leave me the fuck alone. And that's the guy. If I was voting for somebody for governor, that's the guy I want. Right?
Exactly. Well, hopefully people will vote for that guy. It's just a matter of that guy being heard, and the mainstream media makes it very difficult. So
hats off to Kennedy on Fox Business for having guys like me on, man. She's
all right. There we go. Shout out to Kennedy right there. And that's what we need. More mainstream media outlets actually opening their platform and inviting guests like you on and giving them the opportunity to be heard. So, but you're doing it right. Also, you're not being reliant upon the corporate media to deliver that message. You're going out there, you're pounding the pavement to take that message directly to voters themselves. So I want to ask you this, since Georgia, I guess, does historically have a large Black population, if we're talking about legal fiction, statuses in this country, the whole white Black thing. So since there are a lot of Black people where you live, Shane, how do you have a conversation with them concerning Black people problems? You talked about the war on drugs. I guess that would be considered one. The military industrial complex with the police, shooting and killing people, the inequality when it comes to education, healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. How do you connect with the Black population that you're hoping to support you as governor?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I've had my run-in with law enforcement myself. It's one of those things where I think these stories and the ability to have empathy, thank God for things like cannabis and psilocybin, right? Because they open up hard asses like me and they make me see things from other points of view. One of my good friends, he actually is my kid's instructor for jujitsu. this summer, the Helios initiative came around because of him. He was pulled over in Holly Springs, Georgia, and pulled over for driving a brand new Lincoln Navigator while black. He had a tag on the back that was straight from the dealership because he had to drop his other Navigator off, so they gave him a loaner. And so this whole thing kind of came up to where we start talking about the criminalization of peaceful people, and then the need for real, like, not kind of like what politicians say for reform, but we're talking like a bulleted, structured list of items that we have to take care of in terms of being the chief executive of basically a nation, right? If we're talking about succession of Georgia. So what we got to do is stop criminalizing peaceful people. We've got to turn anybody who's in prison for a nonviolent crime out. Hey man, I'm sorry. The people that were here last are, a bunch of, goddamn demons, but you're free to go. And I'm real sorry they locked you up for a nonviolent crime, whatever it was. You're talking about getting rid of qualified immunity so that cops don't think that they can do whatever the fuck they want to anybody that they, want to come in contact with, that they can't, go out and make contact with people who have not, that have not been, complained about actually committing a crime. So, there's a long list, ending cash bail, to the idea that, we just got to get, law enforcement back to a footing of being, peace officers, so they stop destroying those communities, right? I mean, that's the thing is, like, when you see, things like civil asset forfeiture, being used to the point where cops are bringing in, I don't know, I think the last time I saw a stat was like $5 billion, where thieves, like literal thieves and robbers in America, only brought it had, this is for the FBI, $3 billion. So the cops are out working the thieves by over $2 billion a year in theft, civil asset forfeiture. So, one of the things that we've done here in Cherokee County is get rid of civil asset forfeiture in Holly Springs because of that stop, with my buddy. And so, to be able to go and talk to mayors and police chiefs and sheriffs and things like that to start pushing back on civil asset forfeiture, to stop with the, cannabis prohibition, to do all of this legally through, resolution at the town and county level, is one of those things that, you introduce this to the right people, like Killer Mike in Atlanta. I've been trying to get hold of that guy forever, to say, hey man, like, I got a plan for you guys to push back in Atlanta, in Augusta, in Savannah. Like, let's go. I don't care if you're black, white, whatever. Like, this is universal for people, to where, hey, people are tired. People are done with this, the injustice, the profiling, like all of this kind of stuff. We can do better. And it'll make not only, black communities safer, but it's going to make those cops who are in black communities safer. And that's the one thing that's really hard, man. I think, Martin Luther King probably said it best after Jesus, right? Is like, light is what drives out darkness, and love is what drives out hate. And it's super hard to love on these people that have been, completely oppressive. That it is damn near impossible. But if we can find, that ability, whether it's in, the rural side of America or, urban side of America, and we can start coming into these guys and like, look, man, times are changing, and we want you guys to be safer, and we want to be safer, and this is what we're going to demand. We're not criminals. We're not we're not off our rocker. We're not doing things we shouldn't be doing. We just want to live our lives and be left alone. And that includes, whatever I want to smoke, whatever I want to drink, whatever, man. And
right.
I think
as long as I'm not bothering you, shit, leave me alone.
Yeah. And that's, I think, man, I'll tell you, a lot of, the communities around Georgia, I mean, and I'm talking like Augusta, Atlanta, and I haven't been down to Savannah yet, but that's one of those things where you start talking about, these really, no kidding, easy things to do in terms of getting rid of like qualified immunity and, the prohibition of cannabis and all that kind of stuff, man. People just, their ears perk up and they go, right on. This guy fucking gets it, especially if they've done some time.
Yeah, Killer Mike, if you're watching, endorse Shane Hazel. He's over here. He's waiting to hear from you.
Talk here, man. Let me give you some paper so you can push back legally down there in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, you're just talking about doing things on the state level that can make things a lot easier for all of the people in Georgia. And it's sad. Yeah. You're absolutely right about how we've kind of deduced the issues, communal issues, to a certain group of people, Black people, white people, gay people, whatever the case may be, instead of looking at it as a communal benefit for all people. What were you going to say there?
I was just going to say too, I mean, when I know a lot of people who grow up in urban areas, see, this very, slanted number, right? Like, when we look at incarceration rates, obviously Black America has been incarcerated, well over their statistical average, per the country. But when we look at, the whole thing systematically, I've lived in, rural areas, I've lived in suburban areas, I've lived in urban areas out on the West Coast. And the thing is what I see them going after easy targets. I see them going after poor people. Right? The people that don't have the education, people that don't know what their rights are, people that don't know how to fight the system, people that have, wrong place, wrong time type of stuff. That's their target. They're not going after people with lots of money that can defend themselves, people with cameras, people, that are going to hold these, assholes accountable and make them famous and then, run it down. It's like they're going after a very select group of people for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to circle back before I let you go because we did start a little late, and
all good.
As our allotted amount of time. But when you talked about your campaign and what it's offering, you said secession is not off the table. So that's probably one of those things that may scare some people when talking about it. So. I know California went through its period where we were promoting California seceding, and it was talked about nationally, internationally, I even believed. But there's other states in the union talking about declaring their independence, since that's all that it is. A lot of people, I mean, they should be independent states anyway, but they're not acting
right?
like it. Right. But yeah, so when you talk about secession, it's one of those red flag type of, issues or words. So how do you introduce that idea to the people of Georgia when they want to keep Georgia part of good old America? You know what I mean? It's like, what would be the benefits of it? And would you tell them, hey, I would work to keep Georgia part of the union first, and if that fails, then like you said, secession isn't off the table?
Yeah, and this is kind of one of those, they're imaginary lines on a map, for God's sake. So when we really talk about it with different people, I get reactions all over the place, very much in line with what you've said, especially from some of the the MAGA crowd out there. But I also have a overwhelming like, dude, yeah, fuck DC, right? Like, we don't need those guys. We can trade with everybody in the Southeast. We've got everything we need here at our fingertips in Georgia. Like let's punch that ticket. Let's get the fuck out and never ever look back in terms of centralization. So there's both camps. The idea for some of the people that would be totally against it, and you look at it, and a lot of times they're much older people. They've kind of just fallen in love with and romanticize the idea of the United States, think that we can do no wrong around the world. And, a lot of those people are just lost causes. So, find something else to talk about with anybody that's not down with secession. But really, in the long run, the idea and the push is just decentralization. No matter what it is, it's like, hey, ATF, FBI, CIA, anybody that's got a 3-letter alphabet or longer, you're gone. Like we're gonna take the state police and the Georgia National Guard, and we're gonna get you guys relocated. You got a time window. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're not trying to drive apart families. We're not trying to do any of that kind of stuff. We just don't require your presence here anymore. So to move those guys out, to make sure that Georgia is extremely well armed to the point where, hey, now that the ATF is gone, the FBI and the rest of these federal boys are gone, you have the right to own anything that you want. The Bureau and the guys down underneath the Gold Dome, they don't get to tell you what to do. You need to exercise your right. And at the end of the day, you're responsible for that right. So making Georgia extremely well armed to the point where nobody would ever think about invading us is a good thing. But I think you also find a lot of people here in the South, you know, there's a lot of people that are kind of born and bred of rebellion. And, you know, I think there's a lot of romanticism about some of the Confederacy in terms of the move to get rid of DC, even from, you know, back in the 1860s. It's not that, very few people are openly, you know, racist, in public, because they're cowards for the most part, if they are. And if they're, you know, like if growing up in the South, you don't see it, you know, you're just like, well, this is kind of a thing of the past. The idea behind secession for a lot of people, I think, in the South was probably not one of those foreign ideas so much as it was probably in places like the Midwest, right? Like, I think it's probably a little more acceptable down here versus a lot of those places.
I see. Excuse me. I appreciate you talking about all of these things because, like I said, it's a lot of people that turn to mainstream media. They hear about the candidate, the Republican, the Democrat, and they rarely get to hear, you know, sane people like Shane Hazel.
We're real people, right?
Yeah, actual real people talking about real issues and how to address them, you know. So when I was governor and I was talking about the whole secession thing, I got pushed back also about people saying, well, what about them illegals? And, you know, what if we have a tyrant governor? You know, you may be a great guy, but the next guy after you may, you know, end up being some tyrant, and now they're in an even worse off situation. So it's like you're going to have pluses and minuses all across the board. It's just about getting your message out there and talking about the different ideas, you know, that you want to offer as a candidate. So, Shane, last words. I want to let you get it out there. What else can the people do to support your campaign? What is it about your campaign that they should vote for? When's the election date? Who you running against? Give me all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm in the general already. I don't have to wait around for the primary.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Shit.
Looks like it's going to be Stacey Abrams, so I'll be in the November election with Stacey for sure. It's going to come down to Brian Kemp or David Perdue. I've already kind of worked over David Perdue in the U.S. Senate campaign, so I don't think he's going to get it. He's well behind in the polls, so it'll probably be Brian Kemp, which has got a lot of bags right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Republicans drop Brian Kemp after 2020 in lockdowns and masks and bureaucracy taking over and all that kind of stuff. And so
because Kemp is the incumbent, right?
He is, and he's also being challenged by the Republican establishment. So it's going to be very interesting down here in Georgia again. If people want to support, me, understand, like I'm driving Bitcoin, and it's going to open up the market for freedom and jobs and energy. Not only like we're going to be energy independent, we're going to be the freest damn state in the nation, maybe not even in the nation anymore, one way or another. And we're going to create energy down here out of loads and loads of, double bumper crops of hemp every summer. Not to mention, do a whole lot of mining and everything else down here and be, kind of a world leader, I think, if possible. So if they want to support me, they can go to the website at the bottom. There's a giant little, QR code down there. I do take Bitcoin and fiat. It's Cash App, Shane Hazel. You can find it there. Super easy stuff. But yeah, man, Nick, I appreciate the time, man. It was good hanging out with you.
Oh, pleasure speaking with you, man. I'm glad we finally had a chance to hook up. I've been like a follower of yours, I guess, on Twitter forever, even before all of this.
Oh man, humbled.
It's good to finally talk with you in person and get to know you a bit better. Hopefully, you'll win your election. If shit don't work out here in California, you just may see the Wildstar family out there in Georgia. So,
hey, yeah, North Georgia, man, come on, let's go. I'm making a complete Liberty county up here, so we're gonna take over.
All right, let's make a safe haven for liberty. We need it somewhere in the country because it's missing, you know? So, Shane, best of luck to you and your campaign. Thank you so much again for being here on the Black Side of Liberty, brother. Take care until next time. All right, you guys, that again was Shane Hazel, candidate for governor of Georgia and host of the Radical podcast. Again, you can find this information here. There's his big ass QR code. So pause it if you watch it out there, scan that, or of course go over to his website, shanehazel.com, right there at the bottom of your screen. You can click on governor, learn more about his gubernatorial campaign, click on podcast to learn more about the Radical podcast, his Helios, some swag for you. So connect with the man right here on shanehazel.com. All right. Freedom, jobs, energy. It's that simple. Do you want one or the other or all of those? Then vote for Shane Hazel for governor of Georgia. I mean, it's that simple. We definitely got to look at the shift away from the old empire being that simplistic to where you'll have three damn candidates. You'll have the incumbent, Kemp, the governor. You'll have Stacey Abrams, another, leftist, whatever the case may be, somebody that they propped up and groomed to take over, okay, for the machine. It's the same damn machine, just a different face. They're switching the old guard with new faces. So we want to get a brand new face in there, a brand new defendant of liberty, and that's Shane Hazel. So please visit his website, shanehazel.com. Again, Shane, thank you for being here with me. Anybody and everybody out there watching, please do head on over to my social media on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Connect with me right there at Governor Wildstar. If you haven't already, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that bell and get notifications on when I'll be dropping more Black Side of Liberty chats. I got them planned. They're in the books. They're coming soon. The only way you're going to know when they're dropping, of course, is if you subscribe to my channel, which I hope you are doing now. Okay. Also, be sure to head on over to taxationistheft.info. That's taxationistheft.info to buy any of the Taxation is Theft products. We got t-shirts, bumper stickers, mugs. My favorite is the stamp all of your money with that Taxation is Theft stamp right there, which you can do, or which you can find right here at the taxationistheft.info website. You can make a purchase of one of these stamp your money like it's doing right here. Stamp that money, okay, with the Taxation is Theft message. And be sure to use my code, GoWild2022, if you want to get a discount on all of your purchases, okay? And for all of my hemp lovers out there, wherever you are, because hemp is legal in across the entire country, head on over to nugofknowledge.com to get some of the most potent CBD products that you can buy right here. So head on over to nugofknowledge.com and use my code WILDSTAR, okay, to get a discount off of your purchases. That helps me, help you, help everybody, since Nug of Knowledge purchases goes towards the war on drugs. We want to get rid of these anti-drug laws across the country, or anti-freedom of choice laws, since that's really what it is. You having a choice to put in your body whatever you want, which should not be the government's concern or anybody else's business for that matter. So head on over to nugofknowledge.com. Help us fight for your rights right there. And again, enter my code WILDSTAR to get a discount, okay? And if you haven't heard, I'm running for city council, city council for Fresno. So I would love your contribution and your support, endorsement right there on my crowd pack. I'm being 100% crowd funded for this campaign, which means all of my money is going to come from people like you. So head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Go Wild Fresno. It's basically like a GoFundMe for political candidates. So you can chip in $5, $10, $20, no matter how many amount of dollars it's going towards, again, advancing freedom, and every little bit helps. So head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Go Wild Fresno. Let's get rid of big money politics with little money grassroots activism, okay? And I need people like you to get out there and get involved. I got donations here. $50 from Timothy Mason, $75 from Mary Beth. All right, thank you. I got a lot of love. Whoa, $343 from Roy Godino. And Russell Stanton gave me 1776. I like that number. Well, thank you. Thank you all. These are incredible contributions. They're going to make sure I'm able to get lawn signs, bumper stickers, t-shirts, postcards, all of the good stuff that I need to make sure that my campaign is seen and heard by more people in Fresno, so I can get elected a city council member. So again, head over to crowdpack.com/C/Go Wild Fresno. I would appreciate anything and everything that you guys can do to help me get elected to Fresno City Council. All right. And you can also cash at me at Governor Wildstar if you want to help make sure that more Black Side of Liberty chats are available to you. Head on over to Cash App and send me a donation. $ Governor Wildstar. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for being here on the Black Side of Liberty, including my guest, especially my guest, Shane Hazel. You guys definitely please support him. I hope that you love everything that he had to say here. And definitely be sure to come back. As I said, share, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. I need you guys to get involved, be interactive. That's what it takes, is for you to get active to advance liberty. All right. And thank you for all of the comments and questions. If you didn't comment or ask a question, or we're just watching, thank you for just tuning in. But definitely be sure to come back next time and drop me a line. All right. I'm going to get out of here and have some dinner. But until next time, you guys, long live liberty. Peace.